or
Yeah, so now we're
is it
live.
go?
Hangouts is there and live. There's live. So I think I'm gonna start presenting. So my name is Juan Sejere, and this is my partner.
And I'm George, Kyle Keller, aka George. And we
So
did pair programming on the 2nd of September on homework one, but then we realized that
I
we
forgot to click the start broadcast button. So because I did that, and while we were watching this, we never saw this, even though we did a video before.
yeah,
We're gonna go through what we did through the instructions and show you what each of us did and how we learned from each other. We also did this with Faraj. You remember his username? It was Naughty
aka
Programmer.
Nutty Programmer, yeah,
There you
at
go.
Nutty
Okay.
Programmer.
Yeah. So he was with us through the first part, but he could not be here with us today. Even though we're just gonna explain it was part of his work as well. So let's start reading the instructions. You remember who did the first one?
I probably did the first one.
Yeah. It's Go ahead then.
So which screen are you focusing on? On your screen, right?
Yeah, I'm watching my screen. I'm watching what you're doing. Oh yeah, you can see it from my screen too.
So we started kind of last time. We were eager to get started, and we just started coding. You had already uh, downloaded your forked repository of homework one. So I thought I could just get started, but then we realized that none of us had run bundler. So that's how it started last time. We tried to run the specs and it didn't actually work. So we decided to go back to the homework assignment and start from the beginning, and we did the gem install bundler and ran the bundle command. That's what was missing. And then everything worked.
Correct.
We ran the
I remember we were trying to run the bundle, but we did not run the first command, so that was gonna get trouble because we didn't have the bundle.
exactly. I just kind of checked if bundle is installed and thought it's all good, but we didn't run bundle.
Correct.
Then after we ran that, the specs worked. I mean, the tests worked from our spec. And so on the first question, define a method, sum array, that takes an array of integers as an argument and returns the sum of its elements. For an empty array, it should return 0. Run associate tests via spec part 1.
So
So I
I want to say
ran,
something first,
yeah,
if it's okay.
yeah,
So the first thing is that I wasn't so comfortable with the set of problems because I couldn't go through them. It was hard to get like same times. So I had not seen the first video of the homework, which is exactly this one, and the one they made a per program. I got like to minute 6, so I couldn't go through the instructions because I had trouble setting everything up. There was a lot of help that Carl Georgie actually went through it, and about this specs as well because he actually stood a lot of it trying to go through the tests every time before we started actually, and then after we start.
exactly. We first ran the test and watched it fail, and then we started writing the code. So I started on the first part, and the thing was, we had the history already. I'd explained that I'd started a session before that, but no one joined my session, actually. So I was by myself, but I'd worked on the problems. That's why I immediately went to using the inject method on the array. And we used it, we read it up on the documentation page, how inject works. So we passed the parameter with the symbol plus. So inject iterates through each object in the array, and it basically injects the symbol we give it, which was the addition symbol. So that would start with the first element, and then it would add the next element. But that would only solve one of the part of the questions, which is giving the correct result. That would take an integer of arguments and returns the sum of its elements. But for an empty array, that wouldn't return 0. So we added the default value to the inject method. That's why the 0 is there.
Yeah,
And
in my case, I knew the function reduce, not inject. But as Georgie explained, we saw it in the documentation. They're basically aliases. So we just kept it that way. He did this one. We're doing it like we're trying to, how do you call this? Refactoring together. But it
Exactly.
got really quick fast. And Georgie, to try to show what would happen without the zero, he just started off without a zero, even though he knew it was gonna fail. And then as he was explaining, because everything is a method call, this is the method we send to call on each item.
Exactly. And then that would start with the first element of the array. So if we add the 0 as a default value, then it would actually start with 0 and then start adding each element of an array. So if we actually pass this empty array, it wouldn't add anything to it, and we would get the result 0. And this way, it now passed all the tests. Actually, if you switch to my screen quickly.
Yeah, I'm seeing it.
I mean that you're focusing on my screen. Like if you click on it, that we can see it in the video.
Oh, wait. No. I think you're always seeing my screen. I'm always seeing yours.
No, at the bottom right, you should be able to click on mine, and then you'd see mine. So on the bottom right of Hangouts, I've got your screen or my screen, and I can switch between them, and I'll see.
Oh, but which one is it filming? Okay, we can see that afterwards. But wow, that's crazy. I thought it was filming the one who was talking. So in my case, since I'm talking right now, it's filming mine because I wasn't clicking one, none of them. I mean, I was clicking none of them, and it should it used to like go through them.
You know what?
When
Maybe
you-
there's a setting for that. Maybe there's a
Yeah.
setting for that we're learning. But like right now, I can still just see your screen. So as it is, I think you'd have to click on mine.
I am clicking on yours. It's set on yours. I'm actually seeing your screen. You have.
Oh yeah, I'm so stupid. I'm in control of what I see, and you're in control of what you see.
Yeah, that's right.
Right, but it's good. It's good. I asked you to do that because then it's in the video, because you're actually taking the video, so we'll see what you see.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna run the test.
Oh,
And I just went one up accidentally.
Do you think like the video's gonna show because I started like what I'm seeing?
So I didn't. We just started talking. I hadn't yet changed directory into the homework. And yeah, I think the video will just show what you see. Yeah.
Oh. Well, before it was like switching between them. I have no idea how to set that back.
Today, when I was reading the things again, in preparation for our talk now, I was reading the tips, and the tips say, for one, use Cloud9 chat instead of Google Chat so that the chat is visible in the recording. Because last time when we were with Nati, I just wrote into the Hangouts chat. And I didn't realize that what we write in the Hangout chat wouldn't be in the recorded video.
Yeah, that's what he said. I remember.
And then Nati also asked me to increase the font size because he could see it better. So that was good. That's something that's also in the tips, increase the font size. And then the next tip is have the initiator of the Hangout look onto the driver's screen, so that the person who started the Hangout session actually needs to be aware to keep looking at the screen of the person who's got the driver role, so that it's actually recorded in the video.
Correct.
But it was still a good dry run, our last video that we didn't record.
Yeah, it was a long one too. It was like 5 hours.
Oh yeah, it was long. So that's the interesting thing with when someone joins your Hangout when you've already started, we did kind of have to, we lost a bit of time because we had to get Nati up to speed, but it wasn't so bad because we hadn't gotten that far yet.
Yeah, he got up. He could catch up fast enough. So as I was telling you, I'm seeing the driver's screen, and every time I talk, it goes to my screen. Every time you talk, it goes to your screen. So we'll just leave it that way. And the way that goes, because you're gonna host the next video, Georgie, is, are you seeing my? Oh wait, you can't see my.
Yeah, I'm gonna experience on the next video. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can see I'm in between the screens, right?
Yeah, I can see it now.
So if I click your screen, it'll just focus on your screen. If I click my screen, it'll just focus on my screen. If I click none, when I talk, you can see my screen.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, cool. That's now I learned something new also.
Yeah, so try not to leave any of them set, because that will be usually the case. Like if someone's talking, they're showing their screen.
All right, so I learned something there. I actually learned a lot of things in the last in our first session also.
Yeah.
So I guess we're gonna continue just talking through the parts. I'll let you do the next question.
Yeah. So it's a max of 2 sum arrays. So basically, we're gonna sum the maximum two numbers of the array. That's what the instruction says here. Define a method max to sum array, which takes an array of integer as an argument and returns the sum of its two largest elements. For an empty array, it should return 0. For an array with just one element, it should return that element. Return associated test via rspec and the following. So the way we started this, first of all, I was blocked here. I was gonna have two variables or an array of two, like a maximum something, in which I just check those two elements throughout the whole array, right? I will just go like checking, just saving the two highest numbers of the whole array. I was gonna do that, but then I don't remember which of you two guys said, "Why don't we just sort it first?" I was like, "That's actually good." I can't like we can't tell like how sort is way if it's better or not in running speeds, because it actually has to compare all of the elements and not just two of them. And we did not check if sort has some sort of option. That's something I just thought about, to see like if it can only get like the two biggest, or if there's a function already does it. Since in Ruby there's a lot of things to do that. But in this case we went with the sort, since Ruby is very uh it's very, how can we say this? It's very efficient in the
Yeah.
what it implements. And then we what did was we checked, okay, if the length is equal to 0, sorted dot length equals 0, then we just return 0. Sorted dot length equal 1, then we just return the first value. If not, then we'll just return the we had 0 and then we have plus minus 1. So that's how we did it last time.
Yeah, so
But
I agree.
now,
So we just got it passing first by typing out, like you said, if it's 0, then return 0, and then we refactored it afterwards.
correct.
And sorry, I wanted to add to your question, which is more efficient. Well, I think using sort in this particular case is more efficient because the way this question works, in this case, we're only getting integers. So if we use sorted, we'll sort it from the lowest to highest. And if we actually use the sorting algorithm, we'd have to run the sorting algorithm each time. So I think having sorting the array first and then just getting the two largest last values was the most efficient thing I could think of.
Yeah, like code wise it's shorter, but there's like a lot of debate about sorting, because there's a lot of techniques about sorting. So basically, the thing with sorting is that it has to sort every element of the array, right? Not just like the ones, not just like at the two biggest ones. So say you just got, so say for example you have an array. I'm just gonna do an example, a quick example here. Say we have an array of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, let's just make a mess out of this array. 1, 2, 7, 3, and 5. Let's say we have this array, right? So to get the biggest of them, we'll first have to sort it. Sorted will
Yeah,
look something like this. Let's say bubble sort. If I'm not confused, bubble sort would just go like, oh, 4 is greater than 1, so it goes here.
yeah, we'll
4 is
just
greater than
compare
2,
two
so it goes
pairs
here.
and keep moving it and go through it, and then we'll start again.
Yeah, and start again, and start again, and start again. So that's starting that iteration. That makes it supposedly slower, because there's a lot of iterations on it. That's how you measure time. There's a whole study out of that. So, but when you do the way I was trying to do it, but it was code wise longer, was just
Yeah,
going through the array once. That's the only time we were gonna go through the array. So say you have two variables, it's longer in code, but it'll depend. In this case, I think it's better this way. Unless it starts giving us trouble, I think we should change it. We should have changed it to, to do it the other way. But the other way, what it will do is we'll have, for example, uh, big and bigger. Let's say two variables. Again, I'm going to comment this out. So big and bigger. So for
yeah.
example, big is equal to, right now, will equal to undefined, or actually, yeah, undefined, which is false. We'll set it to the least possible number somehow, because there's like this thing here in which, oh, there's another way to do it also.
Well, there's several ways of sorting,
Yeah,
but we want to keep it simple, right?
yeah,
And
correct, correct.
we were focusing on beautiful code
Yeah, that's why we
and
did
keeping
it
it
this way.
short.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a good thing we didn't think about it at the time, or you were thinking about it. I didn't know that you were thinking about it. So I just
Yeah,
Googled it, And the sort method for arrays in Ruby uses the quicksort algorithm.
Okay. Yeah, so that will be log n.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
but the
big
other one,
N.
this way will be n because we'll just go one time. We'll just say the big one and then the biggest, the second one. But still, it's fast enough. The quick sort. I thought the sorting was how do you call this? It was dynamic. I thought it used to change. To, I thought it used to change depending on like Ruby would analyze what would be the best way to sort this, and I didn't know it was quick sort all the way. That's great. So finally, we're trying to reduce like the code, make it beautiful, like George is saying. And the way we did it is that we set this or here, just in case trying to see if this is truthy or falsy. In this case, if it's undefined, it will be falsy, so we'll default to 0, such as this. So if we get no elements, both of them will default to 0. 0 plus 0 will be equal to 0. That passes. If there was one of them, this will default to that number instead of 0, and then we'll add, this will default to
0.
none, so we'll default to 0, we'll add 0, we'll return the first number. And then if there's 2 or more, we'll just keep on the logic because we'll just get those biggest two numbers. Why? Because we're getting the last element, and then we're getting the last like the one
Second
before the
last.
last one. Yeah,
Second last.
second last. There you go. Thank you.
Yeah. So that was excellent.
Yeah, that was very nice.
All right.
Okay, you go with the next one.
Then part 3, well, or the third question of part 1. Let me just read it again. Define a method that takes an array of integers and an additional integer n as arguments and returns true if any two elements in the array of integers sum to n. It should return false for any value of n by definition. So this one I remember we did with Nati.
Yeah.
And I don't remember how we... So what we did, of course, we opened the IRB, the interactive Ruby compiler, whatever, and played around with the combination. So I think I don't remember if we Googled it and we found, yeah. So Nati Googled what would be good for finding pairs of values, and we found the combination method. And then we played around in IRB first, and we found the dot combination with 2 as parameter dot 2a would create new arrays of pairs. And then we had our nested array.
Correct. So the way we were doing it, I think the combination you found it. I'm not sure actually, but whoever did, the thing is a combination. I never heard of that before, but it's pretty cool because it just separates the array in all possible combinations of pairs. In this case, because we send the 2, so that really helped a lot. Then what we did is that we went through the array. Sorry, yes, through the array, and we got each pair, and then we checked if any sum of 2 pairs equals n, right?
Yeah.
But then we Googled again, and then we found that to the any would help us out there.
Exactly.
Because we'll just do the same thing, which is sending a block element.
Because I was going to do it without the any, and then we found the any and it was even better.
Yeah, because any is also a short circuit, so the first time it finds it, it just goes back. So the first time any finds a true value, it just returns and stops iterating, so that's great. And the other thing we had, there was something else. Oh yeah, so we were speaking with Naughty, and Naughty was like, okay, we had problems with the iteration in which we send a pair or just one element.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're trying to, we had a dilemma with that, so we were trying to investigate it. We finally fixed it at the end, so that's good. Yeah, we did it with pairs. So
I think we had a different
element.
understanding. Like he wanted to try it with just one
Correct
value in the pipes.
So what he was doing is sending one value in the pipes and then going x to the x in the position 0 and y in the position 0.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, x in the position 0 and x in the position 1.
I wasn't sure. I felt like he had a different understanding of the nested array, so I wasn't totally sure what he was thinking.
At the end, we got it through. Like, we figured it out that way.
Yeah. And then sadly, he had to leave us after that because he was in Pakistan. He was ahead of us and was really late.
Yeah, that is true. It was like 4 a.m., 3 a.m., I think. Which is the end. Which is the time it was for you when we ended also. So yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty consistent. Okay,
So
so
that's
now we're
also
gonna
something I
go.
realized when we were pairing, that sometimes you'd have to break up the pairing session. You won't complete the whole homework in one session. You probably create 2 videos or something sometimes.
Yeah, although we're trying to get a certain hour so we can do it that way. Also, because our times, it's very hard to pair up. So what we're doing is using weekends on that.
Yeah, so you and I, we're 8 hours apart.
Yeah, that's great. That's a lot of time, but we still manage how to do it. So
You're using
we're
the
at
mornings, and I'm burning the midnight oil.
correct. So yeah, we gotta get done with this so we can start the second one too because we're
Yeah.
doing two homeworks today.
So we'll kind of go through it quicker. I mean,
Yeah. So let's keep at
so
it.
part 2 was actually, it was a very nice change of pace, because then we just had an easy part,
Yeah,
which
and
was
also
the
we took less
sorry.
time here onward just because we were used to how start working. Like the first part was all debugging the way we used to pair and stuff like that. So that's really
Yeah. So first
getting
was just the function hello, which gets a parameter name, and then we just want to return a string which is hello, comma, space, concatenated with the name. So again, in Ruby, there's different ways to do things, and I just Googled concatenation in Ruby, and in the docs I then immediately found the double arrow concatenation, and that's what I chose. And then Juan was saying that there's also other methods, and then I said, well, let's just stick with this one. That's how I remember it.
Oh, how I remember it was that yeah, we talked about the other methods. We mentioned the plus sign, and then I mentioned the double quote with the
Oh yeah,
interpolation.
parameter interpolation. I don't remember. I don't know the proper name, but with the hash and brackets, and you put the parameter in. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we decided to keep the. I remember we decided together right away, just because we wanted to try something different, and this was the one we saw the least, so we just kept it.
Yeah. Actually, we were trying out a lot of things. We
Yeah,
were eager to just try and just see how things work. Even with the combination, we played around with it a bit,
correct.
and we were pleasantly surprised. Often, just the power of Ruby. We were quite happy. Like, oh, this works, and oh, there's a function, and it takes the work off us. It's quite
Correct.
nice.
Yeah. So shall I go to the second one, or is that
Yeah.
your?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go on. Next one.
So the second one was pretty interesting. Uh, we did a double negation there, so that makes it
Yeah,
interesting.
that was interesting.
So I'm gonna go first through the flags. This I. Okay, let's just go first through the instructions. That'll go easier. So define a method, right, that takes a string and returns it if it starts with a constant and false otherwise. Okay, it starts with a constant. Let's just keep it out. For a perfect constant letters, any this ones. Both upper and lower case. So since it's both upper and lower case, this takes care of that. This means like how do you call this?
Case
Upper.
insensitive.
There you go. The I of insensitive for case insensitive. Thanks. Okay, so then this is pretty interesting. This is how we found this. So S is the array that comes with it, right? Sorry, the word
The
that comes
string.
the string, correct. So we could access the part of the string, right? That was with that followed this. If you send into brackets, it could follow a regular expression. So we use that in our advantage, right? So
Yeah.
this would return the string, the piece of the string that would actually suffice it, that would actually correspond.
Correspond.
It's
Those
like
letters.
yeah, it's like an index, but just for regular expression. So anything that will correspond here will just get back to us. So we said, okay, first it must start with. This is the first thing we got here. Why must it start? Because that's what it says right here. It starts with. So here's where we get interesting. It said it starts with a consonant. Consonants are anything that are not A, E, I, O, or U.
Yeah.
That's what we thought. So we did not have this here. No, sorry. Wait. Yeah, we did have this here, and we check if it's not that, so we just get it there, right? But there was a problem, and the other problem was with numbers. We just did not have this. We're actually just checking if the string is equal to then sending this.
Yeah. And it
Yeah,
wasn't
so
working for the test cases.
in this specific case was the numbers because numbers are non-constants, but it would only need to work with words. So that's the last thing we do. It's compare if it equals to a word. In this case, we compare if it's not equal to a word, and we do that because we're double negating. Why? Well, let's say we did it with a cons. How was this? I forgot what I explained last time. But let's say it was an equal. It was yeah. Okay, so the other way to do it was that this was an equal sign.
Exclamation twiddle.
Yeah, there you go. So exclamation wiggle. Yeah, but we did it this way because wait. Oh, the negation part is here. I'm just getting confused. I remember we did a negation, but it wasn't here. You
Yeah,
remember
then
now,
you
right?
had to explain
Yeah.
it to me. I remember.
Yeah. So this is straightforward.
But you explained that
Uh,
to me too, because the negation symbol is the same symbol as the beginning of the string.
yeah, yeah.
Just if it's in the brackets, it's beginning of the string, and if it's outside the bracket, it's negating
It's the opposite way.
the
You
regular
get them confused
expression.
very
Yeah,
often. You get them confused very often. So it's
I,
if
I
it's
got it confused again. Thanks.
yeah. So if it's here, oh sorry, that's fine. Right? Okay, so if it's just the only way to start of the string is just is if it's after this thing here, unless there's an or and then you can use it again. But in this case, it means to start, right? So if
Yeah,
it starts with not any of this, right, and if it's global, then it's gonna return it. Thing is that it could return a number because it'll suffice it. So then we compare, so that's going to return something, right? And then we compare if that corresponds to this, which this just represents any word character, in this case, a letter. So in that case, if it suffices both of them, it means it's a consonant. It's a consonant because it suffices this. It's not a vocal,
it's
and
not a vowel.
it's not a vowel. Sorry. Oh my gosh, Spanish is getting into
No,
me.
I understand different languages. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's in Spanish we call them vocales. So yeah. Anyways, it's not a vowel, which is a medicine term as well. Anyways, it's not a vowel. So and it's not a number. That's what we're saying here. Like it's not a vowel and it's a word. So
And we're
we
checking
can
that it's
actually
a word. Yeah, that's the
yeah
slash.
we could actually just negate it here and do the number. But that will make a mistake where we have say another symbol like a question mark. So this is the safest way to go.
Yeah.
Perfect. So you just go to the next one.
So I'm not that fit with regular expressions, so we used Rubular and to try it out first. Well, I used Rubular to try it out first. So rubular.com is quite nice also. So moving on to the next part.
Yeah, we use Ruler, sure. We used to check that there.
So moving on, next part, binary multiple of 4, question mark. So with the question mark in the method, we already know it's going to return a true or false. And that takes a string and returns true if the string represents a binary number that is a multiple of 4. Note, be sure it returns false if the string is not a valid binary number. So the first thing we did was run the tests, have them fail. And then I focused on the first part, which was check if the binary number is multiple of 4. And since we're being given binary numbers, it's quite easy to check if the last 2 values are zeros. It will be a binary of 4. And then we discussed why that is. And then I was struggling with the rest of the question. And we also took our example test cases from the spec. So I opened part 2 spec and took the numbers it was given there for its tests and copied those into Rubular to try it out. And we noticed that it wasn't good enough to pass all the tests cases.
Correct. So, do you remember the issues we had here?
I'm looking at it now, I'm trying to remember. I was also starting to get tired because I was late.
Oh yeah.
So I tried to do it with several.
You scared me right now, man. I thought you were saying it's later. Right now, I'm like, damn, not again.
No.
You just have a lot to go. Yeah, keep going.
I tried to chain different regular expressions. So I was gonna like the string is equal to ending in 2 zeros, and it's only a pair of 1s and 0s.
Correct. So, one problem we had,
But that wasn't good enough. Yeah.
One problem we had, if I may, I remember this looks like it's doing nothing, right? Because it's negating. It's like, hey, if this is not equal this. So you go like, hey, why is it not just, like equal, oops, equal, just
1 or 0.
equal,
Yeah,
right?
that's what I was doing. That wasn't working for the test cases.
Yeah, in the case, the reason this doesn't all work is because, as I was explaining earlier, is because so the S, damn, we lost a 5-hour video. That's sad. Anyways, so the
Yeah,
S, right? It's gonna just try to match this. Like if it's asking A, does this match? So the thing is the following: if there's a 1 or a 0 in the whole thing,
it's gonna
it'll
match.
match. Correct. So if we have S10P, it's gonna match, and that's fake because we're trying to get binary number. That's not a binary number. So what we did is like, okay, then if you find something that's not a binary number, right?
We're
So
gonna
we
ignore
first,
that.
correct. So we first go here. Okay, is there anything that it's not a binary number? It goes like true. Okay, but that's bad, so we're just gonna negate it. There we go. So that's the reason why
That
it
was
got.
good. And then you had to explain the double negation to me until I understood it.
Yeah, but you got it fast. It's okay.
Yeah,
And then he would just like Georgie was saying, we just got 0 or 00. We're
yeah.
trying out a function. I don't know if you remember the name of it. Oh yeah, the toString. We're trying the toString and sending a number inside its parameters that will make toString make change the number. Sorry, to integer, and we'll
To
send the
integer. Yeah.
number. Yeah, and we'll to I. And we'll send the number between its like its as its parameters. So what that'll try to do is change the string to a number on that base. But the problem with that is that if we have it'll work. It will work like with 10. It'll work with like with a lot of numbers, right?
Yeah.
But the problem with that was that if it was invalid, it will just return 0, and we had to accept 0. If it was invalid with a word, it will return 0. If it was invalid with a 0 or an empty string, it will return 0, so that couldn't work. So we just stuck in there with this way.
Yeah, I remember now.
Okay.
And we started looking at, there was a 2i, and I think there was also another one where you could define which base you were trying to convert to.
Yeah, I
But
think I remember we were looking at it to base or something like that. But
something like
actually,
that.
yeah,
But
it actually had another meaning at all. Like
it was
very
going down the wrong rabbit hole. Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty confusing because it actually just says to base.
Yeah.
So you go with the
Right.
last one.
Well, I started on binary multiple of 4 basically. But yeah, part 3 I actually also did it. That's right. So define a class book in stock which represents a book with an ISBN number and price.
Yeah.
And the price of the book has a floating point and price is attributes. But the first test was just testing the getters and setters. So I used the attr accessor instead of writing the whole definition for a getter and setter. The attr accessor is the short form. So we wrote attr accessor ISBN and price, and then I wrote just the def initialize. But I hadn't added the error checking.
Yeah. So
That's what you did in the next part.
yeah, I
So I just
remember.
did def initialize at ISBN equals ISBN and at price equals price. And then you went on to the next part.
Yeah. So it just said to raise an argument error. So I just quick googled it. And then we did a one-liner because Ruby is beautiful. So we raised an argument error, and then we send a value, which is, I think it's not necessary. I can't remember. Even though if it was an empty line or the price was less than 0, which were the two conditions we got there. There's a lot of things that could go wrong here. Like for example, if this was a decimal, if there was a negative, no, not a negative. If there was a word, sorry, this was a word, if this was a number, etc. We thought we had to check those things, but like Georgia was saying, we're falling asleep, so we got the test to pass. And in certain way, it's kind of bad.
But you're right, because it's a price. Well, okay, it could be negative, true, but
The negative is taken into consideration
yeah,
here,
I know.
but
But
it
you
could
was
be a
questioning
word.
how it was necessary.
Yeah, it could be a word or stuff. And then the price. We started doing it. I was trying to make a pipe out of there. And Georgia was like, "Hey, but that's rail stuff," and I was like, "Damn, that's true. Just let me check that really
Oh
quick."
yeah, you tried to use this Rails function.
Yeah, but yeah, rails.
Currency, something with currency, right?
Yeah, I was trying to pipe it to a currency
Yeah.
because it could have just 1 0, and that would be weird. But then I remember this thing here, right? So we just give it 2 zeros, right?
Yeah, we give it the formatting so it displays two. I think you call them integer values.
Mhm.
Yeah. So like you said, if there's only a 0, that it would still display the second one, that the price is displayed properly.
And finally, we just add the $sign, and that was it. Then we went to sleep, and then
Yeah.
Georgie was like, "Hey, dude, where's the video?" I'm like, "I can't stop it." But the reality was that I never started it.
Yeah, because you gave us a YouTube link.
Yeah, it's actually the same link. It was just there, so I just opened it back up and just started recording this time.
And I thought I would just be able to watch it once you clicked end or something, but
Yeah,
uh,
that's that.
so yeah, that's so we basically doing this to upload this instead of the first video, right?
Yeah, we never had a first video, so yeah, this way
So
we can show what we learn because that's the purpose
so
of
the
the.
alternative was to put a URL to a text in case we weren't able to record a video, and they want us to describe our thoughts and feelings on the assignment
I feel we
and
did
on pair programming versus solo programming. Well, yeah, no, I wanted to now say my thoughts on pair programming versus.
Okay.
So it was quite fun, and we do learn from each other.
Yeah, I
So
think
I'm
I
not
think the
quite sure now, but I learned some things from you, and also the nice thing about Ruby that you can do things in different ways.
yeah. I think the most I believe pair programming has two of the best parts. The first one would be just like sharing knowledge. It's really easy to share knowledge here. So you just go like this. The bad thing is that you can have a discussion out of it. So you gotta be open to what like the other your partner's saying. I feel
Yeah,
we're open, so that's great. But the other great thing about Ruby, I think it's the best one of them. It's that when you're programming by yourself, you get this idea, and then you start going through that idea, which can become a mess. Instead, you just get a simple idea or like a simple, yeah, help out, and then everything changes. And as simple as it might seem, it's a lot of help. For example, I'll give 2 examples. The first one was here with the sorted. So with the sorted, my problem with the sorted was that I was not gonna do a sorted, so that's gonna become a long code. And maybe I'll never thought about this thing, which is just a one line. It's so simple. It does it by itself, right? But it really helps a lot. Like it cut so much time out of the work I was gonna put into this. So that's great. That really helps a lot. And that's a bad thing about pair programming. The people who actually go through it don't realize that those little things are the ones that actually really help a lot, right? And then we had, for example, the Anios who were mentioning. Then, for example, this was getting pretty long, I remember. But then this popped out, and it's pretty simple as well. It's understandable
double
and everything.
negation.
Yeah, but it actually helps a lot. So without
Yeah.
these two simple things, this would be a very very long, or maybe, oh, I lost this one because I couldn't do it, or oh, I lost this one because I messed up because I couldn't do it. I went too complicated and it went for very simple, or just custom code, which is something we want to avoid at all costs.
And a lot of it goes back to just having 4 eyes instead of 2.
Correct.
That's
That is correct.
that, for
So
example, when I was getting tired, you start making mistakes, spelling mistakes, but it takes a while for you to realize it.
correct. That's totally true.
Yeah, so it actually, I can see how it saves you time,
Yeah, it
and
does.
I hope to do it more. So one thing which I wanted to mention in this video, if anyone watches it, what I found was very good was that Juan wrote into Gitter and asked if someone will join him long before he created a session, which I didn't do. I kind of thought, oh, well, there's so many people from all over the world taking part. I'll just create my session and someone will
Yeah.
probably join. And then my first time I created a Hangout, I was there for like 2 hours and no one joined my session, even though it was on the events and everything.
That was 2 hours just waiting.
I started on the code, isn't I? Said I started on code, but I went slow. I was kind of like hoping someone would join, and
Wow. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, at least we got this, so we can keep at it.
All right, so we're
It's 4
done.
homeworks. 5. Do you remember?
Pardon?
It's 4 or 5 homeworks.
Oh, in total, yeah, something like that. I don't remember the exact number.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do, Georgie, is I'm just gonna stop the recording and then we're
Yeah.
gonna hang up the call, right?
All right, good.
Okay, let's see. I hope that works. If not, we just gotta get a paper, man.
Yeah. Ciao.